the thought that crossed my mind was that atheism doesn't make any sense. And the greatest argument for that, I think, is the moral argument. A lot of people don't really like that. A lot of atheists don't like that. They're like,
No.
okay. Well, and they can make a decent
Nobody
argument.
wants to hear their life's pointless.
Yeah, right. And that they're being held accountable by a being who created them.
That's
So-
also why people are atheists. They don't have to be held accountable.
Yeah, they don't.
For sure.
They don't want that accountability.
Yeah,
But
for
the
sure.
thought that crossed my mind is like atheism doesn't make sense because morality is a thing. Every single culture has a moral standard. They might differ in their moralities, but every single people group that has ever existed has had a standard of right, wrong, good, bad, etc. At the same time, we know from modern science that morality and something like IQ, which is tied to material human flesh and construction,
Yeah.
are not the same thing.
No.
Like, even so much so, case in point, you could have identical twins, like same biologically, DNA from birth.
Couldn't be different people.
Right. They could be separated from birth, and by the time they're each 60 years old, regardless of their personal experience, their IQ will be almost exactly the same. But they can have completely different moral perspectives.
Yeah. Walk different lives completely.
Right.
Yep.
And so it's like, well, morality can't be something physical then, right? That doesn't make any sense. Now, the atheist might say, well, we just haven't figured out how it's a material concept yet.
Sounds like you have a biological pod coming up too.
Right. I'm not necessarily a scientist, but I feel like I've heard enough to dabble. And so that's interesting to me too. Okay, so morality is cross-cultural and morality is different from something like IQ, which is purely material.
Yeah. They've never been more different again.
Yeah. And then the third thing about the atheism is that everyone, since they have that morality in them, has this idea of, okay, justice has to be done when people do something wrong, except when I do something wrong because I want forgiveness, because I don't want justice to be done to me. And so,
Yeah, we're the high and mighty, you know?
yeah, that's the natural condition
Yeah.
of humanity is I want justice done to that person who did wrong to me or to someone else. But if I do something wrong, I want forgiveness. And so that's literally the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible is just. I talked about that in the last video we did for the podcast. That's why the thought came to mind.
Yeah.
God is just. That's part of what he loves doing, is judging the world. At the same time, he also loves forgiving people. He doesn't want to condemn people. He doesn't desire to do that. And so at the end of the day, it's like, okay, justice, forgiveness, this is a cross-cultural thing. No one says, oh, give me justice. I really want justice right now when I did something wrong. And so it's like, okay, we know justice has to be dispensed. God dispenses justice. That's the reason you know that.
Yeah.
We know that people have to be forgiven, and that's a good thing to forgive people, but forgiveness has to happen with a foundation of justice. Someone still has to take the penalty for the wrong that person did. And that's where Jesus Christ comes in.
Yeah.
So God is just when he condemns people, and he's just when he forgives people. And it's just beautiful. And so for those three reasons, I think atheism doesn't make any sense at all. I'm kind of interested to see what you think about that before I touch on the other
It's
gods
not meant
part.
for complex thinkers. That's really, really mean. Oh,
brother.
yeah. You've noticed me be blunt with some sarcasm sometimes. That's something. Probably the first thing I did. You're like, oh, there's that guy.
That's pretty blunt.
Yeah.
But explain. You have to explain.
No, but like it's really funny. So I had a conversation last night at a New Year's party about a guy who like is clearly agnostic, but like is very, like questions things so much that he can get it into his own head. And I recommended him like, hey, either go read or go watch the movie The Case for Christ. Because literally that is a dude who, guys who haven't seen this, it's a dude that cannot wait to prove his wife is crazy for ever wanting a relationship with God, going to church, doing those things, and disproves himself and makes the dude fall on his face. We were literally atheist professors tell him, well, it's even if you like look at the data, my way is not the way. And there's never been more ways to provide proof for who Jesus is, what he's done for us, and the reason why we worship him than today. That's one of the like few benefits of like the internet that exists in this day, is that everything's easy to find. For those that do want to be thinkers, your theory will fall apart pretty fast. It is a layered onion, but when you get to the bottom of the onion, it's black. It's not good.
Yeah, nice.
There's nothing behind the idea of this world being empty. Even the science theories on. Again, we're not going to go too far into that. Science falls in a certain way, right? There are so many ways that we want to justify being alive, because we're raised to be selfish. Every single one of us are, even ones in Christian households. That's what we see every day when we go out in the street. But you know what actually brings peace and brings strength through struggle? There's only one thing. It's Jesus, and that's literally it. You can rely on people. That's temporary. You can rely on lust. That's temporary. If you trust God over people, you get to experience peace and what that actually looks like.
This is true. Man.
I'm not going to drop your mic. Sorry. This looks like a great mic, so I'm not doing that.
You really wanted to do a mic drop there.
No, I think I did. You can see my eyes.
Okay. The last thing I want to talk about then is what you just talked about. Jesus and that relationship. That's the huge element of Christianity that makes it different fundamentally from all other religions. But the thought I had about the other religions that I think just exposes all of them, all the 99% that are not Christianity, is the idea of relationship itself. Everyone who is religious claims to be in some sort of relationship with the God that they serve, right? Whether you're offering sacrifices, whether you are doing all these other things with the rituals, you claim to be worshiping a God who needs and wants your worship. And so the interesting thing about that, though, is that all these other gods are typically one person and one being. And so it's just one God, personally and in terms of his being. That creates issues with the whole relational thing. Because if the idea is that your God has always existed, which not every religion necessarily claims, but some do, and it makes sense if nothing existed ever, and then all of a sudden stuff got created. If your God existed before everything else did, and you're claiming that an aspect of his character is that he is relational, how is that something you could say is a part of his nature when you and all the other people who he has this relationship with through sacrifice didn't exist?
Oh man, that's so good.
Because then
so good.
You end up tying yourself to the existence of your God, and it's just a clear exposure of all man-made religions. To me,
wasn't it funny that it's so, again, another broad perspective that's easy to find is that we are not devout. These people that pray, 8 hours every day with their face down are devout. But it actually brings back to one of the first things I told you today. It's a religion. We have a relationship with God. That is religion. And we are called to glorify God, to fall on our faces for him. But you know what? It's not this perfect expectation. It's not this seize the day, I guess, type thing that you're getting from some of that. Our call is to glorify God and to follow him. And everything else is just a mess. And that's where religions just fall apart.
Yeah. I mean, this is true. But that's why we are so blessed to have a relationship with the one God who exists as three divine persons who are all equal in terms of their purpose, their characteristics, etc. Because that's the one God who's worthy of worship, who's worthy of the glory that we give him, because he doesn't need us to exist. He's always existed in relationship
Islam,
with himself.
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
I think even in Islam and in Judaism, I'm not sure they actually understand what sacrifice means. And because we've seen Jesus literally give his life for us and all that is to come, we get to understand sacrifice. I don't think any other religions get to do that.
Nope. Well, not ultimately.
Not ultimately. There's again, I think, and we've talked about this before, there's aspects of that stuff that actually is very true, right? Of Islam, of Judaism, Mormonism, Catholicism. But you can't have pumpkin pie without the pumpkin mix. There are you can't have a truly good shake unless it's chocolate and peanut butter. I mean, I'll die on that hill.
Nice. That's a good hill to die on.
It's a great hill to die on. Yeah. My stomach doesn't always love it, but that's okay.